All right, we're jumping right in today. We're going to take a journey to a place you might call Kilometer Zero, the exact spot where the European story in the Americas really began. We are heading to Santo Domingo. Okay, to really get this, I want you to do something. Just close your eyes for a second. Imagine the ground under your feet isn't just concrete. It's limestone that's been worn smooth by 500 years of footsteps. In the air, it doesn't smell like a modern city. It smells like Caribbean sea salt and, I don't know, the echo of languages that crossed an ocean centuries ago. You don't need a time machine for this. You just need to walk the streets of Santo Domingo's Zona Colonial. See, this isn't just another historical city. It is, quite literally, where it all began. This is Kilometer Zero of European history in the Americas, a place the locals just call La Zona. Honestly, walking through here, it feels like you're exploring a museum that actually breathes. This isn't about artifacts behind glass cases. No, this is the very spot where the blueprint for what would become the New World was first sketched out. So, how did this city even come to be? Well, its story starts not with Christopher Columbus, but with someone who was often in his shadow, his brother, Bartolome. So, Bartolome Colon founded the first settlement on the east bank of the Ozama River, but it was precarious. And in 1502, one of those monster hurricanes that only the Caribbean can conjure up just completely flattened it, wiped it out. But this is where a really key player, Nicolás de Ovando, enters the story. He saw this disaster as a chance for a do-over. He decided the city had to be reborn, but this time on the much more protected West Bank and with a design that was built to last. And Ovando's vision? It was absolutely revolutionary for the time. He didn't just throw up some buildings. He laid out the very first planned city in the Americas. He used something called the Diseño de Damero, which is basically a chessboard grid. This perfect, orderly plan, it was way more than just streets. It was a statement of control, of ambition. And get this, it became the blueprint for nearly every single Spanish city that came after it, from Mexico City all the way down to Patagonia. And the result of all that planning is this incredible, almost unbelievable concentration of historical firsts. So come on, let's take a quick virtual tour. The first thing that just hits you is this massive chunk of stone, the Fortaleza Ozama. We're talking about the oldest European military building still standing in the Americas. And it wasn't just for defense, It was a raw, in-your-face symbol of power, basically controlling who and what came into the heart of the island. Just outside the fortress walls, you'll find the Calle de las Damas. This was the first paved street in the New World. It actually gets its name from the noble ladies of the court, led by Doña Maria de Toledo, who would take their evening walks, their promenades right here. Walking this street today, it really is like flipping through a photo album made of stone. Every single doorway has a story. And if you want to understand the colonial mindset, look no further than this, the first cathedral of the Americas. But look at it closely. It doesn't really look like one of those delicate, soaring European cathedrals, does it? It looks more like a fortress. And that was totally on purpose. In this new, often dangerous world, even your house of God had to be ready to double as a refuge. And for centuries, this was also believed to be the final resting place of Christopher Columbus himself. But here's the crucial point, the thing that makes this place so wild. It's the sheer density. All within just a few blocks of each other, you find the first hospital, San Nicolás de Bari, the first monastery, San Francisco, the first university, Santa Tomás de Aquino, and the first real palace, the stunning Alcázar de Colón. It's just an unparalleled concentration of history, all packed into one tiny area. But this golden age of building and glory, well, it wasn't meant to last forever. The story's about to take a very dark turn. So, was it all just glory and grand construction? For a while, yeah. But the city's golden age was about to get a serious and very brutal reality check. The entire fate of the city would pivot on the events of one single destructive year, 1586. And the man responsible for the terror? A name that echoed with fear all across the Spanish territories. The infamous English privateer, Sir Francis Drake. Drake and his forces swarmed the city and took it over for an entire month. He actually set up his headquarters inside the cathedral itself. And to force the city to pay a massive ransom, he just started systematically burning it, block by block. This attack was a devastating blow, and it really marked the beginning of a long, slow decline.
because the Spanish crown started shifting its focus and its money to the much richer lands in Mexico and Peru.
And yet, despite the pirates, despite earthquakes, and centuries of being ignored, the colonial city never truly died. Its legacy was just sort of sleeping, waiting to be rediscovered. And this created this fascinating journey through time. I mean, think about it. Yesterday, Santo Domingo was the absolute jewel of the Spanish Empire. Then, after Drake's attack, it became a forgotten backwater. But thanks to some really dedicated restoration efforts in the 20th century, the city was saved. And in 1990, UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site, a treasure not just for Dominicans, but for all of us. And this is why it matters so much. The Zona Colonial, it's not a theme park. It's not a historical reenactment. It is the real physical place where a massive human experiment took place. That's sometimes violent, often tragic, but always world-changing encounter between two halves of the planet that never even knew the other existed. So when you think of Santo Domingo, remember this. Those stones, they have a memory. They remind us that the past is never really behind us. It's the very foundation that we're standing on today, a foundation that, for the entire American continent, was first laid right here.